Hello, guys. This is Alex Julian or Aloysius Zanderman here. In this video, I will be proposing a new idea for Americans if they should consider it in the future for safety, peace, and harmony in this country of conflict and battle and war today. Um, I propose with my new idea, as in my new theory, as in my new philosophy, that because of the injustice and disorder and violence that is occurring in this country, that we should now consider wrestling to be just as sinful, wicked, and evil as prostitution. And that we should probably consider outlawing wrestling in the United States of America. Hey, I know what Austin 316 from World Wrestling Entertainment was referring to, That was attacking this Bible. And wrestling fans were wrongly celebrating the phrase Austin 316 for years and years, even when the original expression had died out and the meaning was gone. Which leads me to believe that wrestling fans are basically treating wrestling as the real thing. And whenever there's that kind of foul, bad, and disrespectful art that is treated as the real thing, then it really ceases to be an art, and it's kind of more like the lost art of putting a long, sharp sword in a clown's throat and taking it out without harming the clown. Yeah. Remember that art? Yeah. So yeah, my new idea in this video, if you guys should consider it at some point in the future, my new idea is that we should probably think about censoring, outlawing, and shutting down wrestling in the United States. So that way, no wrestlers and also no coaches and coaching will ever exist ever again in this nation. So that way, the healthy and honest sports like baseball and football can continue to do their ethical territory of challenge without thinking too much of the wrestling guys. Because I think those wrestlers really distract the other sports athletes and make them feel like they need to, get into that aggressive hot train of the devil somewhere. And yeah, this Bible does not say very nice things about mean people, huh? Yeah, and And Donald Trump, of course, as you know, is president. But, being president is good. It is. But definitely wrestling is something that I find questionable because it's like, well, where does that go? I mean, is that in the world of power or is that in the world of ruling? Because power and ruling are not the same. We have powers for things at times, even when the powers do not actually cause any need for any rules or any ruling. So yeah, that's a kind of interesting thing. And wrestling used to be more ethical and approachable in William Hazlitt's time in the early 1800s in the United Kingdom. But now, based on reading his famous essay called, blah, 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 fighting or boxing in the streets, and seeing how wrestling is today, I think there has been way too much illegal evolution going on for this wrestling sport. And It's now turning into a kind of lustful, and, you know, undesirable, crime, basically. There have even been, recent wrestlers like Chris Benoit and others that have left a nasty mark on the World Wrestling Entertainment Company today because although they were wrestlers, they turned out to be real criminals. And definitely, whenever there's that kind of artist who, at some point or whatever, turns out to be a criminal, that destroys the person's art. You know why? Why do we enjoy somebody's art? Why? Why do we enjoy an artist's work of art when the art is healthy and good and such? It is because when an artist, a good artist, presents us with good art, and such, by the good artist, we know to be entertaining of the good art because we know that the good artist has good sense. Not merely common sense, good sense. As in, he knows when to stop joking. He knows when to stop playing. He knows when to stop creating. He knows when to stop cooking. He knows when to stop fighting. He knows when to stop arguing. He knows when to stop being in conflict. He knows when to stop yelling. He knows when to stop whispering. He knows when to stop being peaceful. He knows when to stop being at war. And that's why the good artist is very entertaining for us. Because we know that the good artist, with the good art, has good sense. But more and more, wrestlers in the wrestling industry in America are ceasing to be artists. They are ceasing to be artists, those nice, kind artists who had good senses and everything. Like maybe someone like Doink the Clown, or like maybe an early version of Hulk Hogan or something. They cease to be someone like that, and they turn into like a really sinister, a brood sort of thing. And there's a certain point where it's like, well, yeah, maybe there's a status of personality there of some kind, but if that artist ever loses the ability to have good sense, that artist then really ceases to be an artist, because then we start to know that that false artist does not have good sense, and therefore that false artist or false wrestler no longer has good imagination, or good humor, or good knowledge, or good habits, or good fiction, or good fantasy, or good stories, or good myths, or good facts, or good reasons. We would then know from this day and age, from seeing all of this conflict and violence and frustration in America's injustice today, in America's war basically going on, that all of this wrestling in this recent day and age has ceased to be an art and has just basically become a form of prostitution, where it's just it really does cease to be good art, because there would no longer be like that kind of good artist for the wrestling industry. There would no longer be that good artist for World Wrestling Entertainment. And that is sad in a lot of ways, but then again, the World Wrestling Entertainment over the last century or so was like adding so many new things to their traditional wrestling formula that were not there before. And at first it seemed okay, and they added endless and infinite new ideas to the wrestling formula until now. What is the World Wrestling Entertainment Company today? I mean, now when you see the company, it no longer seems like a traditional boxing arena with, like, traditional motions of energy and effort and focus and attention and judgment, which were important for the early days of boxing. It was kind of like a reflex test, like if you want to be a training soldier, that kind of thing. Uh, I mean, honestly, if I was to train for the military, if I was to like train for the military, if I was to actually decide to train as a soldier, I would not even bother with World Wrestling Entertainment today. No. Maybe if it was like 30 or 40 years ago, maybe I would, but now today I would rather not. Because now World Wrestling Entertainment seems to me to not even be a real source of appreciation for the military and the army, who, of course, do need to be aggressive and do need to have enough fighting done in order to protect our country from real life threats. But in comparison to the military, wrestling today in America is now almost very much like prostitution. We do not need it, even if it is becoming a real threat in this country. And that's my new theory for you, and take care. God bless. Happy holidays.